Texans win in a KC cold thriller. Welcome to Texans on Tap. I'm Brandon Strange alongside Charlie Palillo and Josh Jordan. You can go follow them on X at Palillo and at Josh Jordan SCS. It was another ugly game, but that's the way Houston likes it. Before we get into it, if you want to show support for the show, hit like on the video right now. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Click the bell for notifications. Be sure to put your thoughts in the comments. We'll try to feature those on the screen as we get going here. Guys, I don't know. It's so hard to predict these games. These last few weeks have been anything but predictable. They've been ugly at times, and yet Houston continues to find ways to win. They won 5 straight now. They do just enough, make just enough plays to overcome adversity, to eke out first downs when they need them, to find playmakers when they need them. Charlie, I don't even know really where to start on this game, because it was really a tale of kind of 3 halves, so to speak, because the first half was completely dominated by Houston. And then the third quarter, just the wheels completely fall off of for Houston. They just get blitzed into oblivion and can't really respond. Let's start there. Let's talk about the offense. Are you surprised that Houston looked so absolutely lost in the third quarter? And then were you surprised how they were able to find themselves down the stretch?
No, not really. And hey, they've become completely predictable. They're going to win. The Chiefs are diminished, and you know what? The kingdom is dead. Long live the kingdom. The Chiefs are done. They're not mathematically eliminated. They are done. They lose every tiebreaker. They're sick. They're done. The Texans put them to sleep, even with the Chiefs in their diminished, eroded state. It's one of the best wins in Texans franchise history, because they had the opportunity to crack and didn't. The offense going 4 consecutive 3-and-out possessions. I mean, if you knew nothing else but these simple facts, C.J. Stroud would have a stretch in which he would go 0 for 9. Woody Marks would barely average 2.5 yards per carry. Nico Collins would be completely shut out in the second half, and they would still beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. If not a remarkable win, still a very, very stout win. Hey, the offense for most of the season has had stretches within games and entire games where it just has been no good, so that they go into a coma. The Chiefs cornered animal mode, Chris Jones taking over the game defensively in the third quarter. But the Chiefs, being given opportunity handed to them on a platter to keep their season alive, they handed it back. From when the Chiefs tied the game, the Texans then go 3-and-out again, the 4th consecutive. The Chiefs' offensive possessions from that point, the Lassiter interception, Andy Reid, it's a fine line between aggressive and dumb, but the way his defense was completely owning the Texans to not play the field position game. I mean, their offense put together the 1 touchdown drive, but it's not like they were consistently going up and down the field at any point during the course of the game. So to go for it on 4th down, their own 32-yard line, and fail there, then you have another interception after Kelsey can't handle a ball that Mahomes was not terribly accurate with. And then, hey, Fairbairn makes the put-away field goal. The Texans offense just isn't very good, but did enough in the 4th when gifted short field to work with. But the defense, that they gave up the 1 long drive. Hey, you can't expect to pitch shutouts every week. They held Mahomes to 14 for 33. Not as bad a percentage as Josh Allen had here last season, but 14 for 33 for just 160. And when in doubt, win the turnover battle. C.J. Stroud, also under 50%. 0 interceptions thrown. Patrick Mahomes, 3. The Texans now plus 12 in the giveaway takeaway for the season. And they, just like the Chiefs, aren't officially dead. They're dead. The Texans didn't officially clinch a playoff spot. They clinched a playoff spot. Now it's about can they reel in Jacksonville and win the division again.
Yeah, for sure. The Texans could actually had some more points if we think about it. Early in the game, you had that Dalton Schultz touchdown wiped away by the illegal motion. And then you had the tush push wiped away by Ursery apparently being lined up in the neutral zone, but it didn't really look like it. So I thought that was a little iffy. And then that was that, here we go again. We're going to have to beat the Chiefs and we're going to have to beat the refs. But as the game went on, it all kind of balanced out a little bit. Texans got a few breaks. Chiefs had their backup left tackle in there. He gets hurt on the first play of the game. He's gone. McDuffie, their top corner, he gets hurt. And then still Nico didn't do a whole lot. Of course, they focused on him. But overall, they're just up and down, the Texans offense. Sometimes they're grooving and CJ's getting flushed out of the pocket and making great throws. And then you see what we saw in the third quarter where they can't get out of their own way, penalties and false starts and the delay of game stuff. That's leaking over from last week. D'Amico had to call another timeout, and that was coming out of a timeout. They had to call a timeout to protect that delay of game, and they still had another one. So they're still shooting themselves in the foot. But so are the Chiefs. They're batting balls up in the air to Texans defenders. I think the Chiefs had 6 drops in this game, which is the most in the Mahomes era. So a lot of it going back and forth. But when it mattered most, when the money was on the table, CJ made some throws. Texans got the win. And once again, Woody Marks, he didn't do much for most of the game. But when you needed him to pick up a first down to seal it, he got it done for you. And you needed him today because Nick Chubb got hurt early with the rib. And we even saw Dario Gumbawale come in and score a touchdown. So anyway, really excited for the win. I didn't think they'd do it. I figured they'd have to show it to me before I believe it. But they should. Charlie hit on it. Of course, the defense was great. But CJ, that's what you needed. When you needed him, he made some big plays. Higgins came up big again. So looking good for these young guys with CJ.
CJ had his struggles, but again, did not turn the ball over. And he was very composed when he was eluding the pass rush and keeping his head downfield. The one completion to Higgins on 3rd and 16. The Chiefs are just going to rue their inability to get out of their own way. And Andy Reid greased the skids to defeat with that 4th down call at his own 31-yard line. But Rashee Rice with just a brutal drop on the 4th and 4. And I'm not going to go with poetic justice, but that's a guy who missed the first 6 games of the season after a felony conviction for drag racing and helped the Chiefs get off to a slow start offensively. So in the end, when basically their season and their dynasty died, unless they rejuvenate next season, that Rashee Rice had the drop that really set up the Texans to go in and win the game. I'll call it appropriate, if not poetic justice.
Hey, throw Kareem in that bucket too. Kareem Hunt there, Charlie, with that big drop on 4th down. And we know he's had some issues in his past as well.
Yeah, Travis Kelce's major contribution to this game seemed to be complaining. That was really the most activity that I saw him on the field because it certainly wasn't being targeted. Man, this game was just so bipolar in so many different ways because Houston really had the clamps down. It looked like it was their game. They kind of dominated in that first half. However, another week, again, great that they won. Very happy that they won. But this is the 2nd week in a row in which there's been shenanigans before halftime, but they can't get a playoff. Like, they don't really understand the play clock management. It's just really strange. But you know, all's fair and all's well that ends well. But then, like I said before, Chiefs come out and just Chris Jones catches fire. Texans can't do anything offensively. But then the script gets flipped. In the 4th quarter, the Texans defense just goes ham. And all of a sudden, it's KC that can't do anything. It wasn't until 11 seconds left on the clock before KC got their first down in the 4th quarter. The final first down of the 4th quarter was in garbage time because every possession ended in a turnover prior to that. And I guess you could say it ended in a turnover with the expiration of the time. But yeah, this was just looking at my 4th quarter notes here. Pick by Lassiter, then turnover on downs by Casey, turnover on downs, then an interception by Alshire. So yeah, it just was really crazy. Oh, we've seen it's hard to come up with new ways of describing this defense. Charlie, have you found any other new descriptors that can really encapsulate what this team is doing on defense right now?
Nothing particularly wordsmithy. They've just been consistently excellent and dominant. And on the telecast, they gave a couple of good specific stats. How they have, if coffee is for closers, if it's caffeinated, man, they're all going to be jittery for months. because in the fourth quarter, they just give up nothing. Right, 3.1 points per game allowed in the fourth quarter this season. And the Chiefs in the fourth quarter got nothing, and they'll have to like it. Turnovers in the fourth quarter. What is it? 11 of them coming in. They get 2 more takeaways with the interceptions in the fourth quarter. So it was really a par for their course, the defensive performance, the fewest points a Mahomes-led Chiefs team has scored at Arrowhead Stadium with just 10. So the brilliance is ongoing. And even when they put up the graphic that Danielle Hunter was basically being shut out by an undrafted rookie fill-in guy, well, Hunter makes an impact play, getting a tip ball, and Will Anderson was Will Anderson. Didn't register a sack, but he's Will freaking Anderson. He is just mega disruptive every game, right? The Texans only 2 sacks officially in the game. Tommy Togiai got one early, and then Sheldon Rankins and Danico Autry split the other one.
For me, it's about Lassiter in this game, knocking away that touchdown and just knocking it out of his hands. He had the interception. He also had 5 or 6 tackles. And he was kind of questionable. They thought he'd go, but he had a foot issue, was missing practice during the week, and he came out and had one of his best. If not for him, you at least lose that touchdown that he knocked away in the end zone. That could have swung the game right there on the deep shot. And then how about Jalen Petrie with that hit on Rice? Oh my God, that was incredible. And he didn't get the flag. Congrats to the refs for not just throwing a flag because it was a big hit. It was a clean shot. And I think that was kind of a momentum shift there. Like after that happened, I was like, whoa, like Texans are coming to bring the lumber in this game.
Yeah, Noel also was a recipient of a pretty big hit too. So there were some big hits in this game going on. It was a really exciting football game. I mean, it wasn't, like I said, it was sloppy, not the prettiest thing in the world, but as far as hard hitting, old school, cold weather football, this was a great game to watch. And especially with the results being the way that they fell here, I've got to ask you about that because look, I'll be the first. We've got people in the comments that are saying, "Oh, it's time to eat crow." I'll eat my crow. I tell you every week, I'm happy to eat crow when I pick against them, and they prove me wrong because I want the team to do well. So I'm not ashamed that I picked against them.
They were favored, the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick what I think is going to happen. I'm not saying what I want to happen. I'm not trying. I'm trying to predict what I think will happen, but this does raise the question now because my perspective, our perspective has been, hey, you're going to go on the road. We need to prove it. Like these primetime games, and here they are. And I know the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs anymore. Yeah, they're banged up, about as banged up as you could be as a team. But it's still, they were in desperation mode and we're trying real hard. So how does this change your opinion of the Texans, or does it? Is it just this evolution, or does this put a cherry on top of something that has been building?
Well, I think ultimately it's going to be about having to advance farther in the playoffs. Whether they wind up winning the division or they're a wild card. The difference there is if they're a wild card, they're going to have to win a road playoff game for the first time in the franchise's history to get to the division round. Right? When they've won the AFC South and been favored at home, they've held serve, and then they've gone on the road and haven't come close to winning. So it's getting beyond that. But this game, it was do or die for the Chiefs, and they're dead. It wasn't do or die for the Texans, but now they basically know they're in the postseason, and it's not quite where they should run the table. But look, the Cardinals are a layup, followed by the Raiders, who are an easier layup. The Colts may not win another game, and that was before Daniel Jones went down with his Achilles injury. So the Texans, the critical game, there are 2. One that they play at the Chargers, game 16. If they win that, the Texans should finish this season on a 9-game winning streak and be 12-5. That would force Jacksonville to win out because the Jaguars are a game ahead of the Texans. But should the Jaguars lose to the Colts, the Texans will take the tiebreaker on division record. The critical game is Jacksonville at Denver in 2 weeks. The Broncos battling the Patriots for who gets the bye in the AFC. I mean, that's a game where the Jaguars will be an underdog. If they lose that game, the path is there for the Texans to tie them. The Jaguars beat the Colts and they both wind up 12-5. Well, then they're also both going to be 5-1 within the division. Then you get to common opponents and stuff like that. But the ceiling for the Texans team, I think, is the highest that they've ever had heading toward the postseason, because the best team that they've ever had, the team that probably had the best chance to go to an AFC championship game, was when Matt Schaub got injured, and then that lowered the ceiling. And people might say, well, losing Matt Schaub was a top 10 quarterback 3 years running here. When they lost him, they lost their chance.
Yeah.
This is a truly dominant defense, better than the best Bulls on Parade squad, and a defense that can win games not quite single-handedly. You're going to have to score, and if you're on the road in the playoffs at a Buffalo, you're not going to win the game 13-10, I don't think. But this defense can destroy people, and that gives them a better chance to go where this franchise has never gone before.
Yeah, the one thing it would be nice if they could capitalize and score points after all these turnovers a little more often. They can just kind of fall into a funk. Like, that's probably my big worry with the offense. Like the third quarter in this game, for instance, where they have like -2 yards or something like that. Like they came out of halftime, the Chiefs did, and they made some adjustments, and Chris Jones was a problem, and the Texans couldn't do anything for an entire quarter. And let's be real, the fourth quarter may not have gone as it did if Andy Reid wasn't taking so many chances and the defense kept giving you more opportunities. Because remember, at the end of the game, when they were trying to go for that field goal, they got knocked out of field goal range and had to punt, but then luckily the Chiefs turned the ball over again. So it's little things like that. If they can clean that up over the next few weeks. And CJ he made some great plays under pressure tonight. He missed a lot of throws though, too, if we're being real. And it was the weather and all that kind of stuff. And the Chiefs made it worse because they dropped everything. I thought Mahomes actually played okay, but his guys weren't helping him out too much, especially Kelsey at the end of the game. But if you would have said you'd go into this with Rashee Rice doing nothing, Kelsey doing nothing, and Rice got some garbage time just on that one of those last plays of the game. He did almost nothing. That's what Stingley can do to an offense, man. So, yeah, I worry about any offense. And you look at the rest of their schedule, Texans are going to be favored for the rest of their games. Just take care of business, guys. I know you're facing the Cardinals and the Raiders. Just make sure you take out the trash, and they should be in a good spot. And if CJ can kind of keep this momentum going and getting Higgins more involved, and you know what Nico can do, and it looks like it's Woody Marks for better or worse. Once again, he got hurt and left the game and came back again. We say it every week, but he's a tough dude. He comes back, and he got those big runs when you needed him.
And then who goes and scores the game-winning touchdown when Woody Marks had his obligatory ding for to miss a play or two? Ogunbowale comes out of mothballs and powers his way into the end zone. So we'll hear about total team effort and Bill O'Brien's favorite phrase, complimentary football. This does not completely exercise the demons of losing a playoff game in Kansas City under O'Brien when they led 24-0. But the Texans will have a shot to do damage in the playoffs, and the Chiefs, for the first time in a long time, will not.
It just quickly, I was taking the temperature on Twitter during the third quarter. Most people thought the Texans were losing this football game. I mean, it really turned because they couldn't do anything offensively, and you're like, oh, here comes the Chiefs. But no, congrats to the Texans for stopping that momentum and getting their arms around this game and getting out of there with a win.
I mean, to your point, part of this was Andy Reid kind of giving this game away, but credit to the defense, because for as much of a wrecking ball as Chris Jones was in the third quarter, the Texans defense was better in the fourth quarter. And it comes down to, you talk about the catches that the Chiefs didn't make. How about the catches that the Texans secondary did make? This team has some cornerbacks with some good hands on them. They can go and ball hawk with the best of them. You know, I was looking at to your point, Josh, you talk about like people felt they were losing this game. It did feel like a complete momentum shift when KC tied this game up. And you look at it, when we go back and look at the game stats, the 8 punts compared to 4 for Texans to KC, 8 penalties compared to 5 for KC. The time of possession ended up being fairly close, even though Texas kind of dominated in that first half. Yeah, it just was a really, really strange game that, like I said, it felt bipolar. I want to go back to you guys were talking about CJ Stroud and his performance here, and obviously he outduels Patrick Mahomes here. I know he missed some passes, but when he's under duress, sometimes you see some of his best playmaking, and he definitely was under duress. He was constantly running for his life. Charlie, where do you think CJ Stroud is at in his maturation as a quarterback right now? Because a lot of high expectations coming out as offensive rookie of the year out of the gate, and really high draft pick, just a lot of expectations. Wasn't able to have the same completion percentage in his second year. Where do you see him at now in his development?
A borderline top 10 quarterback. Still just his third season. And after missing 3 games, you would hope that he's still building up to whatever his peak performance will be for 2025 over what remains in the schedule. He obviously has a good toolbox, but he doesn't have one of the strongest arms in the NFL. He can run, but he's not a Josh Allen or when Lamar Jackson is healthy or Patrick Mahomes. Run threat. But job one, and what made his rookie season so special, or one of the key points in making his rookie season so special, was taking care of the ball. Only 5 interceptions. And so Davis Mills kind of set the tone, and CJ Stroud, a clean game, and they weren't all Mahomes' fault. Nevertheless, the form chart reads Stroud 0 turnovers, Mahomes 3. And with this defense, if you win the turnover battle, I mean, you're going to happily take your chances home or road. I would not be in a rush to give CJ Stroud a $60 million per year extension or whatever his people would be looking for. I would go into next season and say, give us a healthy big season. The Texans will have the 5th-year option. They can pick up on CJ Stroud. Next year, his 4th season, he'll be at under $13 million. The 5th-year option will probably be in a $28 million range before you get to franchise tag. Or if you do a mega extension to replace that 5th year, I'm not giving him a Trevor Lawrence contract unless they're playing in the AFC Championship game. We're saying, hey, CJ Stroud delivered in spades in the postseason.
I think what I saw from CJ today was some of not the flashy stuff, just when it's not there and you're about to get killed, just throw the ball at Woody Marks' feet. Don't take a sack and give up 10 yards. I saw they almost called intentional grounding where he threw one in the middle of the field, but he was slightly outside the pocket, so they didn't throw. So just little things like that, where he did that a lot more when he was a younger player, where he'd take those 15-yard sacks, and then you're basically going to have to punt after that. It ruins the whole drive. So if it's not there, just throw it at Woody Marks' feet. Don't throw it at him here so he gets killed. It was smart. And CJ's doing those little things and just keeping them in manageable situations. I wasn't super excited with some of the play calling in the third quarter for obvious reasons. Like CJ finally made a couple throws and was looking good, and they just ran the ball like every time for the rest of that set of downs when it felt like CJ was starting to feel it. So I think him and Kaylee still obviously have some work to do. I'm not super excited about Kaylee's offense, but I like the players on the offense. I like CJ, and I think they'll get better as they continue. The offensive line, they had some rough moments in this game, but they also had some really great times where CJ had a lot of time to throw. Some of the times guys just weren't open down the field, but when it mattered the most, they made plays. They didn't make the big mistakes either. And we can talk about Rice dropping that big 4th down, Hunt dropping that 4th down, Kelsey batting the ball up in the air at the end of the game and getting it picked off. A lot of the guys on the Chiefs made some just plays that killed them in this game. And then Petrie, Brandon was talking about that great, how he batted the ball up to himself in the air and caught it. Just a great play by Petrie and Lassiter. The secondary really had themselves a day.
And also having themselves a day is everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for watching us live. Appreciate it. We got a lively conversation here. I've tried to put as many comments on here. So I'm going to ask them right now. I'm going to toss to the chat right now. Who is your MVP of this game? Who's your player of the game for Texans Chiefs? And then I'm going to ask Charlie, who's your player of the game for Texans Chief?
I don't think there's a clear standout. I'm going to go with CJ Stroud because if you win the battle over Patrick Mahomes, that's a good start. 0 turnovers to iterate that versus Mahomes 3. And a couple nice plays out of the pocket. I mean, he had a bad miss of Christian Kirk that could have put the game a little bit earlier in the fourth quarter, but that's okay. All's well that ends well. And 2 games back, wins at Indy, at Kansas City, places that not all that long ago seemed like the Texans could or would never win in either place.
I'm going to go with my guy from earlier, Kamari Lassiter. If he doesn't break up that touchdown, that's a completely different game on that deep shot. And then he also had the big interception that it kind of was effectively a punt for Mahomes towards the end of the game, but it got you the ball back. So, and he also made some other big plays, and he's always sticking his nose in there on run plays, trying to make big. He's a strong dude that doesn't mind hitting. So that coming from a corner, it's just a cool skill set that usually don't see from corners that don't want to tackle anybody.
Yeah, I'm going to go rogue on this one. I'm going to go Woody Marks. And because there is no standout here, and because when they needed to clock that ball let the air out of the ball at the end of that game, this is 3 out of the last 4 games in which they give. And this is a team that can't run. They can't run. They can't run block. They don't run. And yet they give it to Woody and say, go get us a first down. And against all odds, in the time of the game in which you know what Houston's going to do, and it's predictable as they are, that's saying a lot. You know what they're going to do. And yet Woody Marks is able to carve out just enough yardage to move the chains, keep the clock running. And in this instance, for Houston to get a chip shot field goal to basically ice the game. So
he finally got a touchdown too, Brandon.
Yeah,
he caught a pass and it was a touchdown.
Yeah, I could hear you. It was like I could feel you through the force on that one. We got a lot of great. We got Higgins mentioned, Lassiter, a lot of votes for Petrie. Aziz got some love in here as well. I think that just goes to show you it's a full team effort. Speaking of team effort, it's a team effort for everyone to hit like on this video before we're out of here. Make sure that you join us later in the week because we're going to be previewing that Cardinals game, and then we're going to be live next Sunday afternoon following that game, just like we are right now. Everyone who's here right now, no excuses. Meet us back here on Sunday because, hey, we got to keep doing it. Whatever's working, whatever's creating the wins, you got to keep doing it. That's just the rules. I don't make up the rules. And don't listen to Charlie. He's going to tell you about some stuff about jinxes not being real and him not being super. He doesn't know. He can't prove that. So make sure that you come back here Sunday, but also check out the preview episode that's going to be dropping later in the week. I know Charlie's trying to say something, but he can't because I'm the host. So for Charlie and Josh, I'm Brandon saying so long. Until next time, go Texans, baby.